Hello, everyone, and welcome to our 11th session of Eamc at Home, Finding Happiness Through Hardship, with Caryn Sullivan, founder of Pretty Wellness. In a minute, I'll pass it off to my friend Cindy Underwood-Oleshak, who will be moderating today's session. But first, we have a few things we'd like to tell you about. As I mentioned, this is our 11th session of Eamc at Home. If this is your first one or you missed an earlier one, no problem. All sessions are free, and we record each of them and add them to our website at eventarenamarketing.com, as well as upload them to our EAMC Facebook page. So be sure to check those out, rewatch any previous ones, as well as share with any friends or coworkers who you think might be interested. Something new we started at the end of last year is an EAMC podcast titled Adventures in Venueland. It's co-hosted by Dave Rettelberger and myself, and consists of interviews with guests who are working in the live entertainment industry, as well as bonus episodes, which are case studies of unique situations and events that are happening. It's hard to believe, but we're already on episode 8, which came out yesterday, as well as having 2 bonus episodes. One about the in-use field hospital and testing site in Rhode Island, and another about hosting and preparing for the big game this past Sunday. You can find it on any podcast service such as Apple, Spotify, Google, or listen through the EAMC website. Another exciting thing we announced recently is our new EAMC Impact Award, which was established to recognize an individual who's making a change for good in their community or within the entertainment community, regardless of whether it's through their employer or on a personal level. In the words of John Lewis, we encourage all of you to go out and get into good trouble. Whether it is fighting for social justice, feeding the hungry, helping the disabled, influencing a diverse hiring process, or any other great cause, we all need to make an impact. Nominations are open through the end of March, and self-nominations are welcome. Submit yourself or someone you know by going to eventarenamarketing.com/impact. Lastly, we have a couple exciting upcoming EAMC at Home sessions we wanted you to be the first to hear about. On our next session, we are going to continue our Diversity and Inclusion Committee's mission to be comfortable being uncomfortable, with a session on March 4th about inclusivity and allyship and understanding LGBTQ terms and issues with someone from the Human Rights Campaign, which should be awesome. We'll be announcing more details and opening registration for that soon. And then our next EAMC Mixer will be on March 18th, almost a year to the day of when we all started working from home. Join us in marking the occasion, licking our wounds together, and having some lighthearted fun as we finally start to see some light at the end of the tunnel for this industry. And now, without further ado, here is Cindy Underwood-Oleshak with Cynergy Entertainment Marketing, who's moderating today's session. Hi, Cindy.
Hi, thanks, Paul. Thank you, everyone that's joining the call today. There's a lot of names coming up in the chat. There's like old friends, new friends, and I'm sure that's because of Caryn that we're getting so many people in. You know, I'm going to read from my little script because one, I can go on for days and days about Caryn and gush about her. But I want to do her justice in her introduction justice. Caryn Sullivan is a 2-time breast cancer survivor that has spent 20 plus years working in sports and entertainment, largely at Disney and ESPN and the Minnesota Timberwolves and Lynx. That said, a lot of us EMCers know her as Caryn Fine, publicist extraordinaire with Sesame Street Live and the Target Center, which is how I became friends and knew and love her from there. I know her, you know, I have to tell one quick fun story about Caryn is, you know, she's one of those friends that will, at the drop of a hat, sing duets with you in line at Disney World to try to get your group to the front of the line at Great Thunder Mountain. So this was way before, you know, Fast Pass. So I'm definitely dating our friendship there. But at the drop of a hat, she'll be there to get us to the front of the line. She also has crowned herself Queen Anastasia, even with a costume during a failed entertainment publicity stunt, and also created a WWE wrestling figure for herself in order to pitch WWE to some sports writers at in Minnesota. So, needless to say, she's one of us. She's been in the trenches with us. She knows everything about what we're all going through. And, she's inspired so many people. Many people have read her book. I know I've read it. I've shared it with many friends. On finding happiness through hardship. This summer, she started an amazing podcast, which really helped kind of kick off this session and gave us the idea for the session. So Caryn is always encouraging audiences to think about how they can take small steps towards their health and better thriving in their lives, and she's connecting and motivating with people to make themselves better, which is something that we all need. So definitely follow her on social media, Pretty Wellness, and check out our podcast under the same name of Finding Happiness Through Hardship. So today's session, getting down to the nitty gritty, we are going to talk about how we can turn our hardships that we're all going through into happiness, and how to take your passion and your purpose in your life to the next level. And it's like, how can we do this? And so first, I'm going to ask Caryn real quick, which of your jobs, out of everything that you've done, which jobs have you liked the best?
Oh my goodness. Well, hello. First, let me just say hi to everybody here. I'm so excited to be back. I know I'm sitting here like in my home office and you guys are somewhere so far away, but it feels like really kind of warm in my heart that we can all do this together. And I got to do a shout out to both Cindy and Caryn Swan, who over the course of several decades, that's dating me, have always kept me in the loop with EAMC. I know that there's some of my other friendlies out there back from my Sesame Street Target Center, WWE days. I'm so happy to be here. And so to answer your question about what were my favorite jobs, I mean, I guess you guys might answer the same way. There was something about every job I had that brought tremendous value to the table. Sesame Street Live was my first job out of college. It really showed me that I could work hard and see results in a long-term fashion, not just a school project, not just an internship. And that was my first job ever. And I have such amazing memories, and hey, still some friends from those days. And as we were talking in the beginning, before you guys got on, my very first business trip was in Lexington, Kentucky. And so at Rupp Arena at the time. So I do have a special place in my heart there. I will also say Target Center, like I will start crying because a small group of women that were the marketing department there, we were so close knit. We were young and fun and relatively single. We worked really hard. You guys know, like everybody in the industry becomes, especially oftentimes at your venue, becomes your best, your family. And so the good times, the bad times, the hardships at work, you can lean on people, some more than others, of course, but those close-knit women, when I was moved to the East Coast and I had my first breast cancer diagnosis, they were there for me. When I got my second one, still connecting to me. So they have become some of my closest friends in life. And then I met my husband at WWE. So, and there were some pretty monumental things going on in the world when I was there. And so I have some very close friends that hadn't talked to in a while. And just last week spoke to one of them, and it's just like no time passed.
Exactly.
Exactly. I guess, and then Disney and ESPN, which was outside the industry, but I spent many years there. And that's a whole story or topic in itself, how you really can be marketable, whatever job you've had, for the next one. And I have so many fond memories and great learning experiences from there.
Exactly. Well, kind of jumping into it, over the past few months, I've said, everyone's saying we're in a different time or in these difficult times. I just feel like it's just become the next cliche. So, some of the buzzwords of, we're all in this together, and, it's really meant to take, everyone to comfort each other. But for me personally, it just kind of feels like, it's a throwaway statement because our country is so divided right now about everything. So, you've lived, through many difficult times with your breast cancer, being a breast cancer survivor twice, going through this living with stage 4 disease, and you're constantly having to deal with the hardships and everything going on. So how do you navigate through these, those crazy times, and what are some things that we can maybe take away from that?
All right. So that this is a heavy question. So
I know, sorry, right out of the gate.
Right out of the gate. That's what we do. I think there's a few things. I will say, yes, we are all touched by this, what's going on in the world, but we're coming, some of us very similar places, some of us very different places. And to your point, those words sometimes make me, I think they're meant with good intentions, but I think there's a few things that have helped me, whether it's now with COVID. So mind you, for those of you that are new to me, the 30-second version of my story, you heard a lot of it, especially professionally from Cindy, is 3 months after I was married in 2004, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. It came out of left field, but I was a great patient. I did aggressive surgery, 16 weeks of chemotherapy, and then I bounced back into kind of my old life. It wasn't until my second diagnosis, which was stage 4, that I changed my ways, and I really changed my lifestyle, both like kind of academically. I studied new things, and then I started writing and professionally, as well as personally. So right now I am in active treatment for stage 4 disease. It has been 7 years. And I say that to you guys because there's so much hope. That day that I found out that I had stage 4 disease, like I didn't know anybody that lasted more than like 4 months. And so there's so much hope with the medical world right now. And then I will parlay that into, there's so much hope out there. And oftentimes that's what gets me through. This past year, so many of us have had the similar quarantines, but on the same note, for some people it's different. For my family, I literally have been nowhere public since March 7th of last year, the hospital when I go for scans. So there's, even my mother was trying to say to me, oh, Caryn, we're all in this together. And I'm like, yeah, it's different for me, but that's my story. And I have friends that are strict about it. I have other friends that are not. And I have come to terms with this and so many other things in life, just saying, listen, I know my story, right? Their story is different, and we don't know all the details. And so to really try not to judge or go down into that rabbit hole because we really don't know. We think we know, but all that happens is I get frustrated, like I would get frustrated thinking about how people are doing this and I can't do that. And, oh, is this safe, or, oh, is that not? And so again, especially with COVID times, for me, I've just taken a deep breath. And I really do believe, and I'll get to that, which was more my second point about taking care of myself and the tools that have helped me do that. At most hard times in my life, I have found that when I take care of myself a little bit more than I'm used to, and that's the key, because if you're stressed and having a hard time and you're doing what you always do, it may not be working for you at that moment. So trying something new that might. For me, the eating clean thing came rather easily, not easy, but easier than the mindfulness component. But now that 7 years I've been schooled in this, right, and I've been practicing it, it's all about the practice. And now when things get stressful, whether it's personally or professionally, I have some of those tools that I use that help me. Again, I might be in this with a lot of people, or it might be a little different. And so I think that focusing on ourselves. I know, like, I don't know if that sounds cliche, Cindy.
Yeah, no, and I'm like, what kind of tools? I mean, I think a lot of people and a lot of us in this business are like, okay, give me the tools, like X, A, B, C, and if I do A, B, and C, okay, I'm good. I got this. And it's
All
like
right. So
everyone's different. So what do you got?
when I talk about wellness, I talk about 360 degrees of wellness. Wellness could be well-being, could be healthy living, call it what you want. I will tell you that when it comes to eating clean, if you're not somebody who does it, when I stopped eating, and those of you who worked with me know I loved myself a Hostess Snowball. I drank Diet Dr. Peppers. I ate baked Lay's and thought I was being healthy. Like, I truly, like, you guys know it. And so you can vouch for the fact that I ate clean is a surprise to some people. But what I mean by that is stop eating. Like, if you're going to do nothing else, stop eating as much packaged foods. That in itself with the chemicals, that is incredibly helpful. Or if you can't even go there yet, start drinking more water or water and fruits or vegetables, not even seltzer. To what that does, I think I know what that does is it kind of flushes the toxins out of your system, and that can help you feel more comfortable in your own body, along with a whole slew of other positive benefits. I will tell you, the biggest fitness for so many people is huge. Step it up. Getting outside. I'll tell you, on the podcast, I interview a lot of people that have had inspirational stories, whatever that might be, or some people that are topical experts on them. And I will tell you, so many people talk about getting outside. Even if you're somebody who's like an avid runner, you go outside. If you're sitting at your desk and you are working all day, taking an 11-minute break to get outside to walk can really shift your energy.
Yeah.
And that can help. And then last, but certainly not least, was the hardest component for me to kind of jump through and over and use regularly is the mindfulness components.
Right.
And that is life-changing. Figuring out, sampling what tools, whether it's the Headspace app, which is one of my favorites, or taking 5 minutes in the morning before you get up, 5 minutes, and don't jump out of bed. Don't talk on your, or not talk on your phone. Don't like check your phone, or giving yourself that time to just be, because so many times I know I'm wired to just jump out of bed and start doing.
Me too. Yep.
But I talk a lot on Pretty Wellness. I'm there on Instagram daily. But then I have a whole slew of information that talks about taking small steps towards better wellness, because it was a game changer for me, not just like healing from cancer, but just in my day-to-day of a stressful life.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and that kind of parlays nicely into our next question about the podcast. You know, I devoured your episode on December 2nd. It was with Valerie Gordon, and the topic was being unemployed or uninspired and how to plan your next chapter. I mean, I think I've listened to it on repeat. Like if I'm having a day where I'm like, I need some inspiration, I listen to her and you guys again, and I'm like, okay, yes, I've got this. I can do this. What's next? So, you know, many of us are, you know, being furloughed or laid off and just trying to figure out the next step. Like what's the next chapter? And, you know, the points that you've been talking about is identifying, really identify with the statements that you carry with you your experiences to your next job or to your next adventure, which really hit me hard, because I think a lot of us are like, my identity has been this job. And in this world of event and sport marketing, that's who you are. Like, I'm this person with this venue, or this person with this team or show. And when you're no longer, it's like, okay, now who am I? But you're still that person. Like that podcast, Valerie was like, you're still that same person. You're still you're taking those experiences. So, you know, what are your thoughts and how to kind of really keep driving that home to people and help with that next step?
Well, first of all, I agree. What are my thoughts on this? I lived it. we were talking earlier, I came to the conference in DC, which we were trying to decide, I think it was 2008 or 2009. And I took the train down. It was when I was working for Disney and ESPN. And the topic that I spoke about at a round table is like how, when you leave, like, how do you take that next step? I was in the industry, when Cindy and I were laughing, it was only about 10 years, but it felt like, that was a lifetime for me, a beautiful lifetime, because I felt so close and I identified with everybody at my arena, the shows I work for, as my family. And so what I really did come to learn pretty quickly is like, it's still you. You're still you. And here I am, again, aging us 20 plus years later, and I'm still connected to this group of people.
Right.
And so I think and there are other things that you can do with it as well. Like there's just so much that you can still do if you change jobs, let's say, and you're not doing anything in events, you can still satiate it as a hobby of some sort if you're missing it. Or, hey, being on the board of Eamc or working with people here, there are still ways to stay very connected, even if you move on to do something differently. Like we are all kind of a sum of all of our experiences, but we also are so much more. We're our hopes, our dreams, our legacies, our whatever that might be. And that's where I think if you're stuck right now, like, you may have a job and you may be uninspired, or you may not have a job and you're feeling like, okay, what's next? Like, that's okay.
Right.
It's hard. I can't pretend to know what it's like in your shoes, but I know that there's a way to make your life purposeful outside of just being, I can say I was that workaholic and just doing the day-to-day of my job. There are so many ways that we can find purpose. You don't have to have, like, I have, cancer twice, hit with stage 4. I do believe this is my purpose and it came to me. That does happen. But sometimes it's really about spending some time with yourself. Whatever creativity you connect with, whether you write, whether you journal, whether you meditate, whether you pray, whether it's spending some time to connect with, like, what excites you, and what might make you get in that flow, enjoying something. And then can you do that as a job? Can you look to do that as a job? Can you do it as a side hustle while you have another job? Or can you do it as a hobby?
Yeah. Well, and I know you talk about journaling and you're always, telling me, you're like, you should journal, you need to journal. And I'm like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. Like, what are some tips on that whole journaling?
So I have a lot of people that say that too. I think it's, I did a podcast episode, which was, I loved it. It was by the authors of Anti-Cancer Living. And that was a book that really, for anybody that's touched by cancer, it's a little more academic, but I learned so much. And so I was really honored to interview them. And one of the things that they talk about is about, connecting with your creativity, even if you think you're not creative.
Right.
Because that helps your mind think a little differently. That oftentimes helps calm you. So Cindy, if you're not going to journal, I'm not going to tell you 5 million times to do it.
Right.
I think it's fun. I don't know. Sometimes it's fun, not when I'm sitting there crying and journaling about something, right? But I think it's cathartic. And in fact, the first breast cancer, I started journaling, and my first entry, I just scribbled across it. I then years later went back to it. And when I wrote the book, I had all this like juice and meat that was like from when I was really at the hardest point of the beginning of my cancer journey. And so listen, if any of you guys are willing to journal, even if it's just writing lists or thoughts down, keeping it, maybe you've got a book in you, right? Whether it's now or years to come. And maybe if that's your dream, maybe you've got something that you want to share with a kid or a parent that kind of captures everything. So some people paint, some people, do that beautiful calligraphy, which I try to do, but I'm not very good. You know, and to have aspirational words and things that they write down that kind of help zen them. Some people go to yoga. Like one of the favorite pieces I ever wrote, you'll appreciate this, is called How a Disney Princess Helped Me Connect to My New Normal. I was in yoga and I was not really thinking, but the yogi said something and I was like, oh my gosh. And all these thoughts came to me and it was very cathartic.
Right.
And so I think what I'm coming back to here is that if you're stuck and you don't know what's next for you, just try and give yourself the space, you know, time, energy, quiet, or creativity to know that you don't need to know all the answers, but you can try and figure it out as a journey.
Right.
And that might help you.
Right. Well, and it may be a couple of years with all these people journaling and potentially writing books. We have some good exposés on arena life and sport life. Might be good for the marketplace.
It might be a TV show then.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, the reality show of what we live through. So you know, you are an entrepreneur, running, you know, Pretty Wellness. You've written books. You've hosted your podcast, and you came from those 10 years of the arena business and another 10 in corporate. What advice do you have, like, for people looking to change industries? I mean, you changed industries a little bit, but you know, how can we be marketable now in this, you know, changing times?
Okay, so again, and please know, you guys, as Cindy and I are having this Q&A, the intention of this session is to start the conversations. Hopefully, you know, we're saying things that resonate with you, but let this be the entree to having more conversations. So to answer your question, I think, like I said earlier, skills are transferable. And so even though you've been in this industry for so long, or maybe you haven't, you're just fresh out of school and you've been in it for 2 years, you're a marketer, right? You're a writer, you're a presenter, you're an event, you know, event logistics, you're a finance person. I'm forgetting a ton of jobs. You're an operations person, whatever it might be. You're in leadership. You've taken on different roles. You connect with so many people, you know, from up and down the hierarchy. There's so many different roles and hats that we all play in this industry. And so know that your skills are transferable. And if you're still a little bit uncomfortable thinking like, oh, you know, I don't know, I think my first thought would be, and this kind of goes back, you know, we'll go to the beginning with what impact can you make, is there somewhere that you can volunteer to hone those skills right now, if you have a little more time, or even if you don't, but you want to try something new? Is there a local, it doesn't even have to be local, it could be virtual. Is there an organization, a charity, any type of nonprofit that you want to help? You want to do their finances, you want to do their marketing, you want to get to know TikTok more, you know, because it's a great marketing tool. And I am trying to be funny there. Whatever it might be, can you help them out? Or small businesses could use all the help right now. A restaurant, a store. Is there somebody in your neighborhood that you could just call up and be like, hey, I'm working on a few projects here and I'd like to learn how to do this. Can I do your social media for you? That's probably not going away anytime soon. Can I write press releases for you if you want to go more into PR and you haven't done a lot of PR? Hey, can I help, you know, research some things for you? I don't know what your interest might be, but try and think about like what value you could bring. And sometimes it might just be help. And then think about what you might want. So the other thing I will tell you, if any of you are entrepreneurs out there or have had that bug in you, something that I have learned through this journey, and I did not have this through my corporate journey, was that it is not about being perfect. It is about just the process. It is about you hear that all the time, but what does it mean? It is about just doing it. Again, another, you know, we said we were going to use cliches. That is one of my favorite. Right now, if you are unemployed, or we keep saying uninspired, what do you love? And what can you create with it? For instance, a podcast. It doesn't have to be, it could be. If you love sports and you want to stay working in sports, then I would encourage you. If you're a parent, start a podcast or a YouTube channel with your child, talking about, like Cindy, you and I could talk about baseball with our boys, right?
Right.
Or,
Absolutely.
maybe you don't have a kid, but you want to talk, you're fresh out of school and you want to talk with, whatever your interest might be, crafting with your grandma. And I say these because I'm just throwing things off the top of my head. Being able to create a podcast, to create a YouTube channel, all these marketing tools, writing newsletters, you are using skills. You are creating something that you can then put on your resume that shows that you've got this entrepreneurial spirit, that you're going to, even when you're down, whether it's, again, and you may still be really busy, whatever is going on in life. But I will also say that for me, when I got that stage 4 diagnosis, I literally did not know for 4 months if I was going to live past those 4 months, if this was the calm before the storm, or if I was going to live for 4 decades. And so when I started writing, it was very cathartic, and it kept me busy, and it kept me from feeling sorry for myself. Now, again, that's my story, and that's what I did. I'm not telling you to do it my way. I'm just saying that you have so much value. Even if you don't have a job right now, you've been in this industry. Can you call up high schools, or can you call up your college, universities in your neighborhood, and ask them if they need speakers to talk about what it's like to work in events?
Right.
Because again, it is just, I'm very passionate about this, because I will say, for those of you that knew my boss, Sandy Sweetser, she didn't like to be the one, when I was working for her, doing she was just so busy, but she knew I loved a microphone. I think she was being good to me. And so I would go out early on. I was just 2 years out of college, and I would go speak to the universities that called. And it was this gift really she gave me, and I guess, freed up a little time for her. But I really loved connecting with kind of, the kids that could be the future of our industry.
Absolutely. Well, one of the, like, kind of the next kind of forays into that is, through all your life, you found, as you titled it, your happiness through hardship. And, we're all going through the hard times. How do you find your joy? Like, if we didn't, really kind of cover this as much already, but connecting with your passions, again, you said that a lot of times you'll come out of it with, like, the journaling. Like, are there questions you can ask when you're journaling? Are there things that you can do to really kind of pull out your passion?
All right, let's do this. I want to have fun for 2 minutes with you guys. So I hope you all have, like, a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil. And so what I would say I would do is like writing prompts. You remember those from, like, middle school? A teacher would tell you to do something and you just had to sit and write it down. Streamline a thought. If you like journaling or not, I just want to give you, sitting there, wherever you are in the country or in the world, 2 minutes of time to think about, what your purpose could be, what your next step could be.
Right.
But first, we're going to do quick questions, and we are going to say, first thing, write 2 things down that you like. Just really quickly. I don't care what it is. It could be Golden Grams. It could be apples. It could be singing to your kid. 2 things. Don't think too hard about it.
Okay.
All right, next.
I put wine in the beach.
Wine in the beach. Okay.
So my passion is drinking wine on the beach. Shocker.
Well, and so can I come full circle here? Don't you host the cocktail hours with Eamc?
Pretty much, yes.
I'm going to give you a shout out there that you're taking something that we're talking about happiness through hardship. So it isn't always like, you don't have to know the answer of what you're going to do next, but how do you find joy in those moments?
Right.
You've created something within this group, right? All right. So next question, guys. Again, what makes you smile? Just little things that make you smile. Write it down quickly.
Well, friends and family.
Friends and family. All right.
Make me smile.
I will say, okay, I love to tell people this because they can make fun of me all they want. I love Days of Our Lives. And
Yes,
that's
you do.
right. I don't
Yes,
necessarily, I
you
don't watch
do.
it every week. I don't watch it all the time. If Aunt Dun's out there, she knows she gets texts from me. Because every now and then I watch it. But I'll tell you, when I worked for WWE years ago and I was commuting 2.5 hours each way, or the life of a promoter, you guys know that I would come home at night and I would VCR taped. And I would fall asleep to it. And I say that to you guys because sometimes something that we loved as a child can still bring joy when we're an adult. Sometimes when we're going through a hard times, watching a rom-com that you watched when you were a kid, you're having a hard day, maybe that's what brings you joy. So I want you to write down right now and think about like what's something as a kid that used to make you happy or smile.
Wow, that's like really digging into the vault back as a kid.
Did you like to ice skate? Could you ice skate now? Did you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it kind of goes full circle of that, like, you know, just having fun, making everyone else have fun.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we're in that business of creating fun and making sure everyone has fun. So, you know, I think it comes back to that, finding your passion and how to make that passion become reality.
Well, so I asked you these, I asked these questions for everybody. Again, like if you didn't come up with the answer right away, that's fine. I ask you to do a little homework. If you would promise yourself, whether it's tonight, 5 minutes before you go to bed, or tomorrow morning, 5 minutes when you get up, just take, I think when we're stressed out, when hardship hits, you don't always have direction. You don't always need direction. You're allowed to be. Because when cruddy things happen, it is okay to just be. But at some point, and you'll know this, Cindy, because you read the book. In the book, I talk about mourning without care. When bad things have happened to me, I let myself just mourn without care, do what I need to do, crying, beating a conversation to a dead horse for a certain amount of time, whatever it might be. But at some point, it is often helpful. And especially as a cancer patient, I have to put one foot in front of the other and I have to go do that. In these times, like looking for a job or if looking for a new one, it's not easy. I get that. But to be able to have a headspace that's a little more clear, to take care of yourself, to get out of your system, whatever the negativity that goes along with that, knowing that it still may come back and forth, it's if you can come from a place where you find some joy, that is going to help fuel you. And I'm using these words. Joy could be peace to you. Joy could be happiness. Insert the word that you want there. But when you give yourself a little bit of space to answer some questions about what fuels you, that can help you figure out, if not even the next step, how you're going to have a day that can be a good one. Because I believe that we do have a choice with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, these were all amazing points. And I think, again, not to go back to the cliche of, we're all in this together, but I think, the biggest thing for me with quarantine was having that network of friends, and to be able to talk to them and either commiserate and or learn about other things going on, like staying connected. I mean, I feel like my group of friends through Eamc, we've talked more in this past year than we normally would, because we'd be off, like, I got this event, I've got this travel, you're too crazy. So like we've connected more this year than ever before, and I'm so grateful for that. And that will kind of be a shining light that will come out of all of this, is that you've made tighter connections, and we'll be able to go back to normal, whatever that's going to be. But I'm so grateful for that, which kind of leads me into one of my most favorite things about your podcast. At the end is you play the Grateful Game. And I would so love to play the Grateful Game with you because it's the most amazing game ever.
Oh, well, thank you. So let me give a quick backstory on that, everybody. So a few years ago, I was doing a speaking engagement with a corporate group, and there were other speakers there as well. And this woman hands me this gratitude journal. And I'm like, oh, I love that. I'm all about healthy living practices. And I will tell you, a lot of medical practitioners now are talking about, like, obviously there's that 360 degrees of wellness, which is the clean eating and the fitness. We talked about that briefly, but there's also these added components about being kind to yourself and to others, about that helper's high you get from volunteering, about kindness and gratitude. And so I brought it home. My son was 9 at the time. And we took this book and we go in bed and we would each night we'd talk about what we were grateful for and why. And I really liked it. But honestly, it got a little cumbersome to have this book in bed with us. And he was 9 and it didn't keep his attention span that long. So we changed it to be a competition, which we titled The Grateful Game. And I will tell you, to this day, he's now 12. We play most nights and he still wins every time. I'm just that type of mom. That's it. But nonetheless, what it is, it's called The Grateful Game. And what we do, and we do this on the podcast, is I truly believe that even in some of the darkest points of my life, there was always something small that could make me smile. For that, I am grateful. And I think when life is really tough, when you take a moment and listen, obviously I am so grateful that my health, that 7 years living with stage 4, 16 years since this cancer journey started. I am so grateful for all of that. But sometimes it's those little things. It's the fact that Days of Our Lives is still on, that I can watch it if I want to, right? It's the fact that I've gotten to see Cindy today, who always makes me laugh and smile. It's the fact that my son's going to shovel the driveway later. It's snowing here. It's these little things that happen in that day alone that, and it's not just me saying this, that I've experienced it. There are studies and medical practitioners that are talking about the ability to the ability to tap into gratitude practices can really help people heal and with their longevity. So when I started the podcast, I there like brainstorming, trying to work hard, thinking of like a creative segment. And then all of a sudden it hit me. I don't need to think so hard. It's what I do all the time with my son. So each episode we end with a grateful game and we give ourselves 30 seconds to a minute. And so I am asking you guys to play with me and Cindy right now. I'm going to give 30 seconds, go into the chat or the Q&A. I want you to think about today, or I'll tell you what, 24 hours. It could be last night.
Right.
And what are things that you're grateful for and why? And, tap it in there. And hey, if you have the most, you win. But I'll tell you, like my mom says, it's not about who wins or loses. It's how you play the game. So, all right. I haven't been able to go into the chat. So for all of you, I will look at them after. But let's go now and type. Oh, hi, Tammy Coolback.
Son making
dinner. I'm seeing everybody's here. Oh, all right. What am I grateful for? My good earth tea.
I love it. Oh my God, the Great British Baking Show. Yes, that is an amazing one. Yes, like you, Caryn, I was grateful that my son also shoveled the sidewalk, which was super nice. He even put down the ice melt, which I was like, ooh,
wow.
Bonus point, like bonus gratefulness. Your Cobra Kai. Oh my gosh.
Don't say it too loud because they don't know. It's a Valentine's Day gift for my son and my husband.
It's totally trending in our house as well. We did have one kind of rolling into the Q&A here real quick. We had a question asked. I'm wondering if your general thoughts are about social media in our world at this point in time. In what ways are you able to use it for your own good? Are there things that you choose to avoid? Which I think is so hot topic right now. Not only I think with myself personally, but even having a teenager, I mean, that scares me like crazy. So I agree. Social media can be used for good,
Yeah, right.
but there's also not so good. So avoiding that. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts. So, social media at times has stressed me out. As a businesswoman,
Mhm.
it's another vehicle for marketing, and it can work incredible for various purposes. So I know that I need to wrap my arms around it and embrace it. And so I have. So let me say that I pick and choose. I think as an entrepreneur, you can't do everything, even if you try. So I pick and choose. I love Instagram. I'm on at Pretty Wellness on Instagram all the time. That's as a business person. As a parent with child, I will say I'm lucky that my 12-year-old is so obsessed with baseball. All he wants to do is watch YouTubes of his favorite YouTubers that have play MLB The Show or anything about baseball, but he's not interested in TikTok or some of the other things. I will say for my friends that, both business people that use it for business purposes as well as for their kids, the schools oftentimes have some programs. And even last night, I tapped into one that I was curious on a topic. So if it's about if the question is guided about parenting and if they don't have it, go to a school counselor, because they started to spit out all these various social media, like kind of ways you can put cages around them that I had never heard of. And I guess because I haven't looked, but if you don't know, I'd say, go to a school counselor about that and see what they can help you out with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I think also for me, it's been choosing what I follow and what I don't.
Yeah.
I think, and I feel like everyone during this last political climate, there was a lot of unfriending, there was a lot of blocking, which personally, people I think feel they're like, oh, I'm ashamed I had to block this person. But part of me is like, they were making my life toxic. Like I need only happiness in my heart right now. And if blocking this or unfollowing this or only following these certain types of pages helps, because I wanted to go to my social page and feel happy and like have gratefulness in my heart. And I think that's a big part of it is people feel like once you follow something or once you friend someone, you've got to be there for life. And it's like, no, you don't. You can.
So I want to say one other thing that was huge to me. I felt like an entrepreneur that I always need a presence.
Mhm.
And then a year and a half ago, one of my closest friends passed away, and I have a heartfelt business, and my heart was really hurt and sad. And so I said, I'm taking a break, and I took a 3-week break, and I needed it. I didn't realize, sometimes we make these decisions, we don't realize at the time that was a good one. And I really believe I did the right thing personally and professionally. Then when I came back in January, I felt like I had that pep in my step. And so if the question is about, again, personally, take a break, not just unfollow, like give yourself a break and then come back the way you want to come back with, full throttle or not.
Yeah, no, I agree. So again, if there's anybody has any other questions, toss it in the Q&A or even the chat at this point. We're monitoring and watching it as well.
I know, I'm trying to catch them all. Ted Lasso, I love that show.
I know, I love Ted Lasso.
It was so fun.
It's like, you're on with your people.
Yes, right.
Definitely kind of a little bit in closing is, if you're not already following Caryn on Instagram, follow her at Pretty Wellness. Also, check out her podcast, and Happiness Through Hardship. And sorry, I think my cat is coughing up a fur ball.
Oh,
I'm grateful for that. Not. Anyway, and then Caryn and I are going to continue these conversations. We were chatting, kind of ties into that whole social media. We started a chat room, a room on the newest social platform, Clubhouse. And we're going to host one next Wednesday, February 17th at 1:00 Eastern. Our first session will be focusing on networking without gathering, because that is so crazy right now. As we're telling people you're at a job, you need to find a job, you need to network. How do you network right now? So, coming up with some fun ways to do that. So we will put that out on her page, all the information, and then come find us. I think you came up with a name.
We called it live event. Let me look at it right now.
I know. Hot off the press.
Always fun to try new things. And it was called now. I think it was I can't find it.
Sorry, I put you on the spot.
No, it was February 17th at 1:00, and I wrote down it was Live Event Connect. That was it. Not Live Event Connect, network without gathering.
Yes. We had one more little quick question. If you could talk to yourself while you were working in the industry and give yourself some perspective and advice, what would that be?
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. What would I say? Well, so many things. Again, I ate horribly. Frozen yogurt for lunch because the Arena Club was downstairs. I lived off Diet Dr. Peppers. I would say, I really believe you feel so much better when you fuel yourself, whatever you're in. Life is busy, and I really, quite honestly, loved being a workaholic because I loved my job. It's hard not to be in live events. I would tell myself to pick a hobby and just try and do a little bit of that, not just work hard and then go. I would play hard, well, not that hard, but I would go out after. But I every now and then there was a dance studio by Blocky. I would take a dance class, but I even saw that as exercise, like a necessary evil.
Absolutely.
Right? I didn't have a hobby, and I think that would have been helpful for me during those hard times to have something else to draw upon.
Yeah, I agree. I think, the whole work-life balance, trying to keep that into perspective at all times, whether you're working or not working, is always a challenge. It's easy to say, but then you got to put it into action.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can continue this conversation. And
I know, I hope
things into action.
Yeah, I hope that this was helpful. Again, our goal here was just to connect with you guys and try and relate that no matter where you are right now, there is hope. Yeah. And I can't say I have any answers or all the answers, but I believe that you can give yourself a little space. And, I'm the girl that's all about being grateful. Try and connect with what you're grateful for, and then just put one foot in front of the other and towards something that will bring you some sort of joy on whatever journey you're on. So thank you guys for letting me in your
thank you. And don't forget, everyone, put on your calendar our next mixer in March, Thursday, March 18th. It's almost that 1 year to the day of everything going a little sideways. So we're definitely gonna, I don't want to say celebrate it, but it's gonna be definitely a fun party, fun gathering, and definitely want to see all friends there, because I think we all need that. So thank you guys.
Yay.